So quiz on Thursday, and really today is nothing new. We're kind of reviewing maybe once, and there's a word problem that we're going to do. So listen, Albert I.O. is due next Monday. A lot of you finished your homework quickly yesterday. Awesome. That's when you should get on your phone for something good like Albert I.O. And then homework check tomorrow. Okay. Let me explain something to you guys. Homework checks. Telling me you weren't here doesn't really matter. I'm not going to ask for B16 tomorrow. So if you're absent today, of course you don't have today's homework tomorrow, or you might not. Mandy probably already did yesterday's homework. Because I do put it on Canvas. It's your job to go on Canvas and get it. But I ask quite a few days before the day of the check. So there's no excuse to say, oh, I wasn't here, all right? Except for, if you've missed a whole bunch of days. There's, of course, exceptions to that rule. Also, sometimes my key doesn't show all the work, right? When I check your homework, I'm going to start being a little bit more strict. You need to do the work, not just copy the answers down. Because some of you are just let me just copy down her key. I'll get my homework credit. Yeah, you can, but if there's work to be shown, you're not going to be getting the credit, okay? And I'll tell you where I mean that in some of these problems. Okay, so we have f of x and g of x, and we're being asked to add, subtract, and multiply. So let's do f of x plus g of x first. Why not? Okay, so that's g plus 5. And if you want to put it in parentheses, you can. But when it's addition, you don't really need the parentheses. Because you don't have to worry about changing any signs. You are literally just combining like terms. Okay, so that's 1g plus 2g is 3g. And then we have 5 minus 7 is negative 2. That's it, right? Right? But, so no one really ever gets the addition ones wrong. You want to be really careful with subtraction problems. Okay, this is where I would use my parentheses, at least on the second set. It really wouldn't matter if it was you put them around the first set, but when you have a subtraction symbol in front of a set of parentheses, or in front of a polynomial, you have to remember that it gets applied to all of them. That's why the parentheses are necessary. And as I showed you guys yesterday, I like to just go ahead and distribute the negative and write it right underneath. So positive 2g becomes negative 2g. Negative 7 becomes positive 7. That's what the minus in front does. And then I cross that out, including the negative. That way I won't be tempted to use it, right? And now it's just like the red problem above it, combine like terms. I have 1g minus 2g is negative 1g. I can put the 1 in front. That would not be wrong, but you don't need it, right? 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Right? And then 5 plus 7 is 12. Okay? So that's an area I always see students mess up on. So be really careful with the minus that you distribute it, change their sign, then combine like terms. So that's just like one extra step in subtraction. Okay? And then multiplication. Your book, when you get to your homework, I think it's weird that it writes it like this. It writes it just like that. Like, you should know that means multiplication. I would probably put a dot in between or put them in parentheses, but just so you know, this is f of x and g of x right up against each other, so it does mean multiplication, okay? And so, I'm going to use a different color. Let's use blue. So that would be f of x, which is g plus 5, times g of x, which is 2g minus 7. So this is a great example of there is work to do between writing the problem down and the answer that you won't see necessarily on the key, right? So if I were checking a homework assignment that had a problem like this on it tomorrow, I would be making sure that you did the work. Because I am really good at math, not the broad. I can't do that all in my head. I can't, okay? So there is work that you need to be actually showing. All right, so this is distributive property or FOIL, however you think of it. But remember, we're just going to take the g, start with that first term, and multiply it by everybody in the other set of parentheses. And remember, when you multiply with variables, you add the exponents. So g to the first times 2g to the first, and if it helps you to put ones there, go ahead, would be 2g to the what? Second. 1 plus 1. Okay? G times I already wrote the arrow there. G times negative 7, negative 7g. Okay? I'm done with the g. Then I do the same exact thing with the second term. It happens to be a positive 5. If there was a minus in front of it, you would think of it as a negative 5. So 5 times 2g would be positive 10g. And 5 times negative 7 would be negative 35. And then 99% of the time, you can combine those two middle terms because they're like terms. So my final answer would be 2g squared, right? Negative 7 plus 10 is positive 3. That's these two. And then minus 35. So there's a little work to show on multiplication. Difficult work, but you have to do it. So that's pretty much what we did yesterday. Are we all kind of okay with that, even if you weren't here yesterday? I can't remember off the top of my head. But anybody have a question about adding, subtracting, or multiplying? All right, let's put one together that's got a little bit of everything. This is really adding, subtracting, and multiplying all in one problem. Yay. Any ideas of what we would do first? Just distribute, yeah. And let's remember, on these calculators, you have to put parentheses around your fractions. Okay, some of us saw that yesterday. We were getting the wrong answer. I was like, oh, I forgot the parentheses. So when I do 1/4 times 16, parentheses, 1 divided by 4. That does not take long to type. You guys text fast, way, way, way faster than me. I know you can type that very fast. 1/4 times 16, right? I get 4. 4x. Okay? 1/4 times negative 12. 1/4 times negative 12. Minus 3, and there's a y. Distributing done. Same thing over here. This is a positive 1/3. Be careful, if that were a negative or a minus, you would distribute the negative, okay? But since it's positive, it's just parentheses, 1/3 times 9, and I get 3. So 1/3 times 9 is positive 3, and then there's the x. And 1/3 times 3 is 1, and we don't need to put a 1 in front of the y. So that was the multiplying. And now I just combine any like terms. We've got 4x plus 3x, 7x. Negative 3y plus 1y is negative 2. Good. We have one last problem to do. And if you don't want to write the whole word problem out, you don't have to. Let me shortcut it for you. Okay, so if you don't want to write this whole thing, write the formula, which is just spelled out in there. The formula for the volume is length times width times height. You're given a formula. You're given L, W, and H. So the formula for the volume of a rectangular prism is volume equals length times width times height. Find the volume of a rectangular prism given length, width, and height. All in letters. Algebra. Right? If you just write this, that would be enough. And I gave you one word problem in your homework. It is identical to this, just different numbers and letters, okay? You guys remember geometry? Rectangular prism? Maybe? Maybe not? So to find the volume, I'm just going to plug these in. So it's x, I'll use parentheses, times y times, or x times y squared times xy plus z. Okay? And so guys, well, I want you to remember that multiplication order doesn't matter, right? 9 times 4 and 4 times 9, same thing. Doesn't matter what order. And the order you multiply this in doesn't matter either. So what we could do, I like to, if there's some monomials, just singles, I like to put them together. So x times y is xy squared, right? That's all that would equal right there. And then we can distribute it to this binomial. So we would do xy squared to each of these terms. Okay, so now we're multiplying, we add our exponent. If it helps you to put, ones on these so you don't forget about them, feel free to do that. Okay, so xy squared times xy. So x to the first times x to the first is x to the second. 1 plus 1, right? And then y to the second times y to the first is y to the third. 1 plus 2, right? 1 plus 1 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay? Now we do x, y squared times z. Oh, well, there's really no like terms in there, so it's just x, y squared, z. I just put them in alphabetical order. That's it. That is the volume. We don't know the actual volume, but we now have a formula. They gave us what x, y, and z is. We could plug it in and find it, but that's it. That's the volume. Okay? So there's one just like this in your homework. So if you struggled with this, try it in the homework. Call me over. I will help you. Let me help you. Okay? So again, these are answers.